The history of Christianity follows the Christian religion from the 1st century to the 21st, as it developed from its earliest beliefs and practices, and spread geographically in the Roman Empire across the European continent, the British Isles, and into the Americas, before becoming a global religion. Christianity originated with the ministry of Jesus, a Jewish teacher and healer who proclaimed the imminent kingdom of God, and was crucified c.A.D. 3033 in Jerusalem in the Roman province of Judea. The earliest followers of Jesus were apocalyptic Jewish Christians. Christianity remained a Jewish sect for centuries in some locations, diverging gradually from Judaism over doctrinal, social, and historical differences. In spite of occasional persecution in the Roman Empire, the faith spread as a grassroots movement that became established by the 3rd century, both in and outside the empire. New Testament texts were written, and church government was loosely organized in its first centuries, though the biblical canon did not become official until 382. The Roman Emperor Constantine I became the first Christian emperor in 313. He issued the Edict of Milan, expressing tolerance for all religions, and thereby legalizing Christian worship. He did not make Christianity the state religion, but did provide crucial support. Constantine called the first of 7 ecumenical councils, needed to resolve disagreements over defining Jesus' divinity. Christianity played a prominent role in the development of Western civilization in Europe. In the early Middle Ages, missionary activity spread Christianity west and north. During the High Middle Ages, Eastern and Western Christianity grew apart, leading to the East-West Schism of 1054. Western Christianity reached a kind of peak, influencing every aspect of medieval life in the 1200s. Then it began a decline. Growing criticism of the Roman Catholic Church in the 1300-1500s led to the Protestant Reformation and its related reform movements, which concluded with the European Wars of Religion, the return of tolerance as a theological and political option, and the Age of Enlightenment. Christianity also heavily influenced the New World through its connection to colonialism, its part in the American Revolution, the dissolution of slavery in the West, and the long-term impact of Protestant missions. In the 21st century, traditional Christianity has declined in the West, while new forms have developed and expanded throughout the world. Today, there are more than 2 billion Christians worldwide, and Christianity has become the world's largest and most widespread religion. Within the last century, the center of growth has shifted from west to east and from the north to the global south. Origins to 312. See also Jesus, chronology of Jesus, life of Jesus in the New Testament, historical background of the New Testament, and Roman Empire. Further information: historical Jesus, historicity of Jesus, quest for the historical Jesus, Hellenistic Judaism, Second Temple Judaism, and Second Temple period. Little is fully known of Christianity in its first 150 years. Sources are few. 7. This and other complications have limited scholars to probable rather than provable conclusions, based largely on the biblical book of Acts, whose historicity is debated as much as it is accepted. 8. According to the Gospels, Christianity began with the itinerant preaching and teaching of a deeply pious young Jewish man, Jesus of Nazareth. 10.2. His followers came to believe Jesus was the Son of God, the Christ, a title in Greek for the Hebrew term Messiah, meaning the Anointed One. Jesus was crucified c.A.D. 3033 in Jerusalem, and after his death and burial, his disciples proclaimed they had seen him alive and raised from the dead. He was thereafter proclaimed exalted by God, heralding the future kingdom of God. Little is fully known of Christianity in its first 150 years. Sources are few. 7. This and other complications have limited scholars to probable rather than provable conclusions, based largely on the biblical book of Acts, whose historicity is debated as much as it is accepted. 8. According to the Gospels, Christianity began with the itinerant preaching and teaching of a deeply pious young Jewish man, Jesus of Nazareth. 10. His followers came to believe Jesus was the Son of God, the Christ, a title in Greek for the Hebrew term Messiah, meaning the Anointed One. Jesus was crucified c.A.D. 3033 in Jerusalem, and after his death and burial, his disciples proclaimed they had seen him alive and raised from the dead. He was thereafter proclaimed exalted by God, heralding the future kingdom of God. 12. Virtually all scholars of antiquity accept that Jesus was a historical figure. 13. However, in the 21st century, tensions surround the figure of Jesus and the supernatural features of the Gospels, creating for many a distinction between the Jesus of history and the Christ of faith. 15. In early Christianity, this was not yet a question. The belief that Christ had two natures, one divine and one human, provided the foundation for Christianity. 16. It was amongst a small group of Second Temple Jews, looking for an anointed leader, Messiah or king, from the ancestral line of King David, that Christianity first formed in relative obscurity. 17. Led by James the Just, brother of Jesus, they described themselves as disciples of the Lord and followers of the way. 18. According to Acts 9:20 and 11:21, a settled community of disciples at Antioch were the first to be called Christians. 22. While there is evidence in the New Testament, Acts 10, suggesting the presence of Gentile Christians from the beginning, most early Christians were actively Jewish. 25. Jewish Christianity was influential in the beginning, and it remained so in Palestine, Syria, and Asia Minor into the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So, Judaism and Christianity eventually diverged over disagreements about Jewish law, Jewish insurrections against Rome which Christians did not support, and the development of Rabbinic Judaism by the Pharisees, the sect which had rejected Jesus from the start. Geographically, Christianity began in Jerusalem in 1st century Judea, a province of the Roman Empire. The religious, social, and political climate of the area was diverse and often characterized by turmoil. 12. The Roman Empire had only recently emerged from a long series of civil wars and would experience two more major periods of civil war over the next centuries. 30. Romans of this era feared civil disorder, giving their highest regard to peace, harmony, and order. 31. Piety equaled loyalty to family, class, city, and emperor, and it was demonstrated by loyalty to the practices and rituals of the old religious ways. 32. Christianity was largely tolerated, but some also saw it as a threat to Romanness, which produced localized persecution by mobs and governors. 30. The first reference to persecution by a Roman emperor is under Nero, probably in 64 AD, in the city of Rome. Scholars conjecture that Peter and Paul were killed then. 35. In 250, the Emperor Decius made it a capital offense to refuse to make sacrifices to Roman gods, resulting in widespread persecution of Christians. Titum. Valerian pursued similar policies later that decade. The last and most severe official persecution, the Diocletianic persecution, took place in 303–311. 38. During these early centuries, Christianity spread into the Jewish diaspora communities, establishing itself beyond the empire's borders as well as within it. 39. Source sheet.